They had conquered 17 star systems. They were the perfect hunters. Their bodies had been shaped by millions of years of evolution on a world of eternal twilight. Their eyes could see heat. Their claws could cut through bone. Their movements made no sound. When they worked together, they moved as one mind. No species had ever escaped them. Pack Leader stood at the edge of the forest and breathed in the cold night air. This new world was called Earth by its people. It was a small planet far from the trade routes with a single yellow sun. The natives were soft creatures called humans. They had no claws, no fangs, no natural armor. They were perfect prey. The ship sensors found a group of them, said second in command. 5 humans, deep in the forest, far from their cities. Made a sound of pleasure. This would be easy. The hunting party was 8 strong. Each one of them was 3 times the size of a human. Each one had killed hundreds of prey across dozens of worlds. These humans would be nothing more than practice. They moved through the trees like shadows. The forest was dark and thick. The trees were tall and old. This place was called the Pacific Northwest according to their scans. It was autumn and the days were short. The humans had chosen a remote area far from other humans. Perhaps they wanted to be alone with nature. Perhaps they wanted peace and quiet. They would find neither. Raised his hand and the pack stopped. Through the trees he could see the warm glow of the humans. 5 heat signatures just as the sensors had shown. They were sitting around a small fire. They were eating and talking in low voices. They seemed relaxed, content, unaware. But something felt wrong. Had hunted for 300 cycles. He had learned to trust his instincts, and his instincts were telling him that something about these humans was different. They were not behaving like prey. They were not nervous. They were not looking around with wide eyes. They sat with their backs to the darkness as if they had nothing to fear. He shook off the feeling. He was being foolish. These were just soft, weak creatures who had never faced a real predator. They did not know what was coming for them. Whispered, "Take the first kill, show us your skill." Was young and eager. He wanted to prove himself. He moved forward without hesitation, slipping through the undergrowth like a ghost. He was fast. He was silent. He was deadly. He never came back. The pack waited. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. There was no sound, no struggle, no cry of victory from just silence. "Something is wrong," said. Signaled 2 more hunters to investigate. They moved forward carefully, following the path had taken. When they returned, their faces were pale. "We found this," one of them said. He held up a single claw. It had been cut cleanly from his hand. The wound was precise, professional. There was no body, no blood trail, just this one claw left in the middle of a small clearing. Left there on purpose. Felt something he had not felt in a very long time, fear. These humans had taken one of his hunters without making a sound. They had left the claw as a message. They wanted the to know. He looked back toward the campfire. The humans were still there, still sitting, still talking. But now he noticed something he had missed before. They were not eating. They were not relaxed. They were waiting. Their hands were near strange metal objects. Their eyes were scanning the tree line. They had known they were there all along. The fire was bait. And somewhere in the darkness between the trees, the humans were watching back. Had hunted across 17 star systems. He had never been hunted before. He did not like the feeling. He did not like it at all. "We fall back," he ordered. "Regroup at the ship." But as they turned to leave, they heard it. A sound they did not recognize. A sharp crack that echoed through the forest. One of the hunters fell, a hole in his chest. Then another crack. Another hunter fell. They scattered into the darkness. They were the greatest hunters in the galaxy. They had never been prey. Until now. Part 2, the tables turn. 6 remained. They had scattered into the forest after the attack, but now they gathered in a small ravine, hidden from sight. 3 of their pack were dead or missing. The greatest hunters in the galaxy had lost half their number to creatures they had thought were helpless. "We call the ship," said. "We leave this planet. We come back with more hunters." Agreed. He reached for his communicator. He pressed the signal. Nothing happened. He tried again, still nothing. The device was working, but something was blocking the signal. "They have done something," he said. "The humans, they have cut us off." In a small clearing half a mile away, William smiled and checked his signal jammer. It was military grade, the kind he had used in 3 different wars. It would block everything within a 5-mile radius. The aliens were not calling for help tonight. Was 62 years old. He had gray in his beard and scars on his hands. He had been a soldier for 20 years before he retired. Now he spent his time in the forests, hunting deer and elk with his friends. It was supposed to be a peaceful trip. Then the aliens had come. The 5 hunters had spotted the ship landing 2 days ago. They had watched the aliens move through the forest. They had seen how the creatures hunted, and they had made a decision. They were not going to be prey. Tom Red Elk was the best tracker had ever known. He had grown up in Alaska and had spent 40 years reading the land. He could follow a trail that most people could not see. He had found the alien patrol routes in less than a day. Sarah had been an army ranger. She was quiet and calm and very, very dangerous. She had taken the first alien with a knife from behind. Clean, silent, professional. David Park was a bow hunter with 30 years of experience. He could put an arrow through a target at 200 yards. He had killed the second alien from the shadows. The creature never saw him. James had been a sniper. The 2 aliens who had fallen to rifle fire were his work. He was somewhere in the trees now, watching, waiting. And then he was the oldest of the group. He was also the most patient. He had learned long ago that hunting was not about strength or speed. It was about understanding your prey. It was about thinking like they thought. It was about knowing what they would do before they did it. These aliens were predators. That meant they had patterns, they had instincts, they had weaknesses, and knew how to use those weaknesses against them. In the ravine, they were arguing. Some wanted to attack, some wanted to hide, some wanted to run for the ship. Listened to them and felt his control slipping away. They were scared. They had never been scared before. They did not know how to handle it. "Silence," he commanded. We do not run from prey." "They are not prey," said quietly. "They are hunters like us." Wanted to argue, but he could not. He had seen the evidence with his own eyes. These humans did not panic. They did not flee. They set traps. They used tactics. They worked together with perfect coordination. They were everything they were supposed to be. And they were better. A sound came from the darkness. It was a hunting call, one of their own. Felt hope rise in his chest. Perhaps one of the missing had survived. Perhaps they had found a way to escape. "Over here," he called back. "We are here." The sound came again, closer this time. Then again, then silence. It was not a... The humans had learned their calls. They had studied them. They had them. And now they were using those calls to draw the out, one by one, like fish to bait. "Move," ordered, now toward the ship. They ran. They did not try to be silent anymore. They crashed through the underbrush, their only thought to reach their ship and escape this nightmare planet. But the humans had anticipated this too. The ground beneath one of the hunters gave way. He fell into a pit lined with sharpened stakes. His screams echoed through the forest. Another hunter tripped a wire. A section of hillside collapsed, burying him under rocks and earth. The humans were not just fighting back. They were hurting funneling them, driving them like animals toward a kill zone. When dawn began to light the sky, only 3 remained, and one other. They had reached high ground and could see the landing site in the distance. Smoke was rising from it. "No," whispered. The humans had found the ship. They had disabled it. They were trapped on this planet with no way to call for help, no way to escape. Below them in the valley could hear the humans moving. They were not hiding anymore. They were closing in. They were taking their time. They knew the hunt was almost over. For the first time in his 300 cycles of life, understood what it felt like to be prey. Part 3, Apex. The sun rose over the forest. It was a cold morning and mist hung between the trees like ghosts. The three surviving huddled together on a rocky outcrop, their backs against a cliff face. They had nowhere left to run. Looked at his remaining hunters, was wounded. A human arrow had caught her in the shoulder during the night. The other one, a young male named, was shaking with fear. He had never been in a real fight before. None of them had. Not like this. "They are coming," said. She could hear them in the forest below. They were not being quiet anymore. Why should they? They had already won. Thought about all the species they had hunted across the galaxy. He thought about how those creatures had looked when they realized they were going to die. He had never understood that look before. Now he did. The humans appeared at the edge of the tree line. There were 5 of them, just as there had been at the beginning. They moved with calm confidence. They carried their weapons openly now. Strange metal tubes that could kill from a distance. Bows that fired silent death. Knives that gleamed in the morning light. The oldest of them stepped forward. He had gray in his beard and lines on his face. His eyes were patient and cold. He looked at the way a farmer might look at a pest that had gotten into his crops. "You came to hunt us," the old man said. His voice was calm, almost kind. "That was a mistake." Understood the words. They had translator implants that could decode most languages. He wished he did not understand. He wished he could pretend this was all a misunderstanding. "We are said. "We have conquered 17 star systems. We are the greatest hunters in the galaxy." The old man smiled. It was not a cruel smile. It was the smile of someone who had heard a child say something foolish. "Let me tell you about my species," the old man said. "We have been hunting for 2 million years. We hunted animals that were bigger than your ship. We hunted predators with teeth as long as my arm. We hunted each other. We never stopped hunting. We got better and better and better." He took a step closer. "We invented weapons because our claws were not sharp enough. We invented traps because we were not fast enough. We invented strategy because we were not strong enough. Every weakness we had, we turned into a strength. That is what humans do." "Broke," he screamed and charged at the old man, claws extended, teeth bared. He was young and fast and desperate. He never got close. One of the other humans raised a metal tube. There was a sound like thunder, fell and did not get up. The old man did not even flinch. He kept looking at. "You are faster than us," he said. "You are stronger than us. You can see in the dark. You have natural weapons. And none of that matters because we do not fight fair. We fight to win." Lunged at him. She was wounded and slow, but she could still kill. A woman stepped forward and met her. The woman was small and quick. She moved like water flowing around claws. A knife flashed, fell. Now only remained. "You could have killed me too," he said. "Why didn't you?" "Because we want you to deliver a message," the old man said. "We know you are not alone. We know there are more of your kind out there. We want you to go back to them. We want you to tell them what happened here." Stared at him. "What message?" "Tell them that Earth is not hunting ground. Tell them that this planet belongs to hunters. Tell them that if they come back, we will not be waiting in the forests." The old man leaned closer. His eyes were hard as stone. "We will come looking for them." They let him go. They gave him a small craft from his damaged ship, just enough to reach the nearest outpost. As rose into the sky and looked down at the green forests of Earth, he thought about everything he had believed before coming to this planet. He had believed there were the apex predators of the galaxy. He had believed no species could stand against them. He had believed humans were soft, weak creatures waiting to be harvested. He had been wrong about everything. Humans were not prey. They never had been. They were something far more dangerous. They were a species that had spent their entire existence fighting for survival. Every war they fought made them stronger. Every predator they faced taught them new ways to kill. They had climbed to the top of their food chain not through strength or speed, but through cunning, patience, and an absolute refusal to give up. They were hunters, true hunters, perhaps the greatest hunters the galaxy had ever produced. And they were not alone on a remote planet anymore. They were looking up at the stars. They were building ships. They were reaching outward. Shuddered as he thought about what that meant. They had always assumed they would be the ones doing the hunting when humans reached the stars. But now he knew the truth. When humanity came to the galaxy, they would not come as prey. They would come as predators. And the so-called greatest hunters in the galaxy would have to learn what every other species on Earth had learned long ago. When humans hunt, everything else becomes prey. The end.